India and Pakistan is one of the most followed rivalries in world sport. But beyond the big moments, the highlights, the patchy highlights on YouTube, the scorecards, what really makes it special is how people have watched this game from both sides of the border. For many of us fans, this rivalry is tied to players and eras. Wasim and Wakar running new ball, Saklan essentially changing how spin was bowled and being the master of his art. And the cough of Shoaib, I mean, with the running in raw pace, that Calcutta test. Uh, I mean, having Sachin carry all those expectations, the 2004 tour, uh, Sehwag taking the game on from ball one, and of course, in recent years, I mean, Kohli, I mean, the love that he's got from Pakistan, uh, the singular performance of Amir in that 2017 Champions Trophy final. For some of us, it's childhood memories watching these matches with our families, maybe planning days around this game, and remembering exactly where we were for certain moments. For a lot of others, it's probably been about the group chats, the debates, the emotions that have stayed like long after these matches have ended. I mean, you only have to be on the internet to know that there is probably no knock that's more hyped than Kohli's 82 versus Pakistan in the 2022 World Cup. This episode isn't about analysis. Uh, it's not even about breaking down performances or decisions or anything of that sort. It's essentially about the people who've lived these matches and this rivalry as fans. We reached out to supporters from both India and Pakistan and asked them to share what this rivalry means to them, their memories, their feelings, their stories. So, for the next little while, you'll hear it in the voices of the fans themselves.
That's four in a row. Very good. They're going to pull next. The prodigal son turned Messiah gets his second hundred in successive. India have won in dramatic style. The whole of Bengal are on their feet. The air goal! Not that important. He's gone the next ball. The dream has diminished for Carlos Brathwaite. Unbelievable scenes here at the Bombay.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nawab Hassan Hussein Qureshi. I'm an agriculturalist, a sports management professional, and a sports analyst. I was the former head of digital media for Multan Sultans in the PSL, and I was part of the Southern Punjab Cricket Board here in domestic cricket in Pakistan. And ever since I can remember, cricket has been a very, very big part of my life, been a big part of my family. My late uncle is a former first-class cricketer, Nawab Hassan Hussein Qureshi. He's also someone who did a lot of work for Pakistani cricket at grassroots level. He also did a lot of work for seniors cricket. From my grandmother's side, my paternal grandmother's side, I'm related to your very own Nawab Mansoor Ali Khan Patodi, who was her first cousin, obviously one of India's great captains, and then her mamu, Iftikhar Patodi Nawab Senior, played for both England and India. So cricket's always been a very big part of my life. It was just the game that my family loved more than anything. I have memories of watching cricket from a very young age with my grandfather, with my uncle, playing with my brothers, with my friends. I would say till for the first 18 to 19 years of my life, cricket pretty much dominated everything in my life. And obviously, a big part of supporting Pakistan, a big part of watching Pakistani cricket is the incredible rivalry between India and Pakistan. So, around the time when I grew up, India and Pakistan, I don't have a lot of memories. I know they played a lot through the 80s, but I don't have too many vivid memories of that. My very first clear memory is of Aqib Javed's hat trick against India in 1991. And then, Pakistan won that game. Aqib took 7 wickets. I remember losing the very first World Cup match both the sides played, 1992, Pakistan losing, and it's been pretty abysmal for us since then. We've never beaten India in the 50 over World Cup. We have one win in the T20 World Cup, obviously, have a final loss as well. So my strongest memories are of when India and Pakistan started playing Test cricket again in 1999. That those three games, Pakistan winning an incredible game in Chennai is just my it's one of my all time favorite Test matches for everything that went on. Just the cricket, the crowd's reaction, just what it was like, just seeing India Pakistan play again. Then Delhi, where India roared back to with Anil Kumble's 10 wickets to tie the series. And then the Asian Test Championship with the game at Kolkata, which was such an incredible game. Watching Pakistan somehow find a way to win that, being 6 for 26. And then all of my memories of I try and block out all the times India beats us, which is quite a lot now. In the last sort of 5 6 years, the dominance from Indian cricket has been incredible. It's been very one-sided in India. For me, for my money right now, are easily the best team in the world and have been for some time across formats. I know they've had a bit of a rough run in tests recently, but overall, I'd say the last 3 4 years they've been the best team in the world, and Pakistan has struggled to keep up to that. So I kind of go back to earlier days. I think about that series in '99. I look back to India's tour here in Pakistan. I was in Lahore for both the ODIs that Pakistan lost when India came back from 2-1 down to win the series. But my overriding memory of that tour is making friendships with people from India who'd come to watch the cricket in Pakistan. Lifelong friendships, people I'm still in touch with today. I was very lucky to visit India in 2013. It was an incredible visit. Just so wonderful to be there, to meet the people, to experience the love and kindness and hospitality, and just reconnecting with my friends who I'd met almost 7 8 years earlier when India and Pakistan played each other, and were people I'm still in touch with today. Uh, Watching games in college, I went to university in England. Watching games with Indian class schoolmates, college mates, and friends there. The 2003 World Cup, another not so very nice moment for us. And then that incredible series here. Then when Pakistan went to India, that Bangalore Test match in the drawn series, 1-1, absolutely my favorite. I think if I had to pick one game to be the best game of my life, it would be that, with Yunus Khan and Inzamam, and then Pakistan taking the wickets. Just that strong Indian side getting a draw at home, and then coming from 2-0 down to win that one day series. That's a memory that stays with me. And there's a memory that stays with me from when Pakistan last played a bilateral in India in 2013, because that series was also something. So it's always been about incredible cricket. When I look at the insane talent across both teams, and I look at the legends, and I think of all the greats, Imran Khan, Kapil Dev, Javed Miandad, Sunil Gavaskar, Wasim Akram, Sachin Tendulkar. The list is endless. And then obviously you talk about Virat Kohli. I mean, Virat Kohli ne what he's done to Pakistan, very few people have done, and he is just, what an incredible honor it has been, but also how horrendous it has been to see him beat us as much as he has over that time. He's just an incredible player, and and my memories of cricket off the field are watching games with people, meeting strangers around the world. Wherever you run into them, you start talking about cricket. It's something that unites us, something that we can talk about. We'll have a bit of ribbing, bug each other about head to heads or World Cup records, or things like that, but there's always a bit of a laugh. There's so much love for cricket between both sides, and it's just, this rivalry is such an incredible rivalry, and I'm hoping that we see that when this game happens, and I'm hoping we see just the rivalry in the right spirit, which I believe for most of its time it has been. And it's game. We have fun. We enjoy the banter, and we watch the game. But I'd like to hope that we do that while respecting each other, and while remembering that it is just a game, and that our two proud countries share an incredible past and incredible history. But hopefully also that we can work harder to make a way to share an incredible future based on kindness and respect and tolerance for each other. And I want to wish both teams all the best, and I want to wish the Indian fans all the best for not just this game but for this tournament, playing at home, another World Cup. Incredible Indian side, and I just hope whatever happens on the day, the best team wins, and all of us get to enjoy an incredible game and remember how lucky we are to follow the teams that we do.
I know that was an incredible voice note from Nawabasan Kureshi, but we ended up chatting after he sent this, and I think he had some more stories, so I prodded him to send those as well as voice notes, so those follow. You must listen to it in full and laugh and enjoy what a time it was.
So, as I mentioned in the voice note, I at the stadium met a gentleman, two gentlemen actually, who had come from Delhi, and they were watching the match, and I was in the stand, which had I would say about 50% of the stand in Gaddafi Stadium for the first game was Indian and Pakistani fans. So we were all mixing with each other, and I remember there were these just before I'd entered the stadium, there were these Sardarjis outside, and they were asking me that after the game they wanted to take a rickshaw and go somewhere, but they were a bit worried. Okay, they wanted to eat a specific dish. You might be familiar with it, pie, goat trotters, but they were worried that they didn't want to go somewhere where someone would take them and it could be beef. And I told them in Lahore, you don't get beef pie, you get only goat pie. So they were very happy. I spoke to the rickshaw guy. He said, "Sir, don't worry, I'll take them." I got inside. There were these gentlemen from somewhere in South India. We chatted very briefly. Their Hindi wasn't that good, but the English was perfect, and they were a bit worried, and they were asking me, we have vegetarian options. So I gave them. This is before social media and all. This is 2005. Some places I wrote down, and they were, we had a wonderful chat. And then I met this gentleman and his dad. And to this day, he's one of my closest friends. I speak to him regularly. And his dad had left Lahore in partition at the age of 18. And it was his first time back in the city of his birth and the city where he had sort of grown up. And, we spent the next 3 days taking uncle around, showing him everywhere. He knew more of Lahore than I did. I moved to Lahore as a teenager. He knew more of Lahore than I did. And then I insisted that they come over for lunch to see me, meet my family. And, we made a bond as a family. And then I remember telling my grandmother, okay, I wasn't sure if my friend Ashutosh and his uh, father are vegetarian or not. So let's keep some options for both vegetarian and non-vegetarian food. And my dadi ended up having a lot of food made, and yet all of it, because in Pakistan we're just so used to eating sabzi and things together, that we made it into. So when I asked her, "Aapne koi sabzi banwai?" And she goes, "Ha na, ye dekho sabzi hai, bhindi gosht, aloo gosht, gobi gosht, all made with lamb." And I was like, "Dadi, that's not sabzi." Thankfully, they were not vegetarian in this case, but it is just the most incredible memory. At the Gaddafi Stadium for the fourth and fifth ODIs, I remember it was just an incredible feeling, seeing so many Indian fans walking with us together, people in blue shirts, green shirts, walking together, people meeting each other and speaking to each other. And we were all walking towards the ground, and we all entered. And I was in the stand that had a lot of fans from both sides. And my overriding memory of that is just watching these young Pakistani kids. They came up to someone sitting near me, had an Indian flag. They asked him for his flag. I think he was a little bit hesitant, but he gave it to them. And they ran around the entire stand just singing, shouting, Bharat Maa ki Jai, Bharat Maa ki Jai. Pakistani Lahori kids with an Indian flag. And then I remember an entire group of Indian fans, that very famous chant, Sachin, Sachin. They would do that. And then just spontaneously broke into singing Dil Dil Pakistan. And we all sang along. And, it's hard to put into words the emotion of that time, the closeness that two countries that have been through so much felt. And it's my overriding memory. I don't remember the score. I remember just a little bit of the cricket, mostly because Pakistan lost. But this is my overriding memory of just two people kind of like reacquainting themselves with each other. And there's just those kids, Pakistani kids running with the flag, and the Indian fans singing is just something that will always stay with me.
Hi, folks. My name is Neha. I'm a cricket writer and podcaster, and like many of us, my relationship with this game is a deeply emotional and personal one. My initiation to cricket was during the 2011 Men's ODI World Cup, specifically the semi final between India and Pakistan. I was young, but I remember the energy around that game so vividly. The tension, the build up, the sense that this was just more than a match, right? It completely captured my attention, and honestly, I haven't looked back since. I remember my grandfather, talking about the significance of an India-Pakistan match, but this one really hit different. And from then on, every ICC event just meant one thing for me: is India playing Pakistan? When is it happening? And like, what kind of game is it going to be? Now, even though India have had like an overwhelmingly favorable record against Pakistan in ICC events, I've never gone into those games feeling like, hey, they are predictable. I feel like there's just so much at stake: pride, history, narrative, redemption, and just so many arcs there. The cricket is almost like high quality because both sides raise their levels. The competition edge is just undeniable. But as I grew older, I also became aware of how complicated all of it is, right? The geopolitical tensions between the two countries, something I didn't fully understand as a kid, started to just feel heavier later. You realize that these are two nations with a painfully shared history in itself, right? And cricket then becomes this very symbolic battleground, so to say. And that's confusing because on one hand, it's just sport, and on the other, it just clearly isn't, right? There's also the purist in me that has always thought, imagine if they played like a full-fledged test series, right? Imagine if we got to see sustained 5-day contests between these sides, the tactical depth, the individual battles, the long-form drama. I really think we've been deprived of that cricket, and it feels like a loss for the game itself. Okay, before I go on a tangent about that, now, at the same time, I think the whole discourse, right, around these matches has often been very disappointing. I feel that nationalism is something that really gets thrust upon our faces, sometimes subtly, sometimes aggressively. And I think it just turns the contest into something far more hostile than it sort of needs to be, right? It stops being about, appreciation of skill and becomes more about just proving superiority. And honestly, like administrators, broadcasters just haven't helped the cause, right? There's always been this tendency to package the rivalry in a very combative, almost caricatured way, reducing complex histories and even cultures, right, into just punchlines and tropes, campaigns that frame it as a battle of humiliation rather than competition. I think it just feels unnecessary. It cheapens what is otherwise a deeply compelling sporting rivalry that has so much more to it, right? I think what I've always loved, though, are just the moments where, cricket cuts through all of that noise. When you see players, share a laugh, exchanging jerseys, acknowledging each other's brilliance. And when fans talk about, a cover driver, a spell of fast bowling rather than a political headline, that really stands out to be more, right? Again, for me, I think India versus Pakistan has never been about animosity. It's been about intensity. It's also been like theatre, right? It's been about two incredibly talented cricketing ecosystems just producing players who, thrive under that kind of pressure, right? Imagine a billion eyes watching you just do something for a living. And maybe that's what I hope we hold on to, right? The empathy, the understanding that most fans on either side are just people who love the sport, who grew up with similar memories, similar family watch parties, watching with friends, experiencing heartbreaks and celebrations. I think we can acknowledge the tensions, but at the same time, we can't pretend that they don't exist. But we can also choose not to amplify the worst parts of the discourse. Because at its best, I think this fixture isn't about division. It's about how powerful sport can be in bringing out excellence and probably also creating those shared memories and lived experiences, and occasionally in reminding us that we're probably not as different as we're told we are. Cheers. That's all from me, folks, and hope we have a great match. Not, again, controversy having taken the center stage.
Next up is Rohail Salman.
So I grew up, unlike most of the people in Pakistan, in a family that was not a super big cricket fan. But even in that family, an India and Pakistan match always meant something. But not in the kind of way that it does now, which is full of this weird vitriol and jingoism and whatnot. I mean, that jingoism always existed, but there was always this sense of sporting rivalry, this sense of respect that both teams had for each other, that people on both sides of the border had for each other. And of course, there's a lot of baggage of history of when times have gone bad, and then cricket has also gone bad as a result of that. But there was always this camaraderie and this closeness that you felt with the Indian cricket team that you didn't with any other cricket team. I mean, Australia was probably more hated in my household than the Indian team was. And some of my first sporting memories of Indian Pakistan matches are the 99 World Cup match with India, where we obviously lost, and how upset everybody was about us losing to India, even though we did end up getting to the final. And then what happened. But that match with India stands out to me as the one match that everybody in my family, men, women, elders, young people, everybody was watching. And that's one of my initial cricket memories as a more conscious adult. And then another memory that stands out to me is during the 2003 World Cup, where Pakistan disastrously got out during the group stages. But my family, after Pakistan was knocked out, was all on board for supporting India and backing India, and India reached the final. And I remember I was at a relative's place, and everybody was shocked at how bad the chase was going for India. And I remember, funnily enough, this is something that I starkly remember, is then when Mongia came to bat at like 5 down or 6 down, and somebody in sitting there in that family gathering was just like, yeah, Mongia can save India. He can probably chase this down. And I knew a little bit more about cricket at that point, and I was just like, yeah, that's not going to happen. But that's what I mean to say, is that it was always, if not Pakistan, then maybe India in my family, which was not a huge cricket fan. And then the first time that I remember, when India toured Pakistan in 2003, I was so excited for that. Everybody in the country was so excited for that. I remember how big of an occasion it was that India was touring Pakistan. I think at that point, for the first time since I had been born, and you could feel the amount of excitement and love that everybody had for not just the Indian cricket team visiting, but for the Indians who were visiting for the matches. And then when that back and forth with India happened a couple of years after that as well, I just remember everybody was so excited about the cricket. And honestly, the cricket was great as well. And you had cult heroes during those series. For instance, 2003, I think, is when Balaji became a legend in Pakistan. For I have absolutely no idea now why, but he was loved by the crowds in Pakistan. But the past few years especially have just taken the joy out of the game, and there's so many reasons for that. It's my relationship with the Pakistan cricket team, but it's also my also watching how everything has been ruined by the amount of politics and severe nationalism, and I don't even know what to call it anymore. But I just feel like the joy in that fixture that used to happen just does not exist anymore. And it's just sad to see that an Indian Pakistan match is no longer something that I really look forward to. But I really wish it goes back to how it used to be when I was younger.
Hi, this is Akshay. For all of those people claiming that India versus Pakistan is no longer a big rivalry, I'd be willing to wager a lot of money with them that Surya Kumar Yadav's captaincy could not survive a loss in this game on Sunday. India versus Pakistan has for long been the greatest rivalry in sports for me. I remember every single one of those games, growing up, watching it with my family. And it was always an entire family affair with everyone involved, right from my mom peeking from the kitchen to my dad, like celebrating every single shot that Sachin hit in that epic 2003 clash. India versus Pakistan is the greatest legacy definer for all the big players across both nations. Right from Javed Miandad's, legendary six, from Shoaib Akhtar's, back-to-back wickets in India, getting Rahul Dravid and Sachin out, from Sachin hitting those massive sixes over third man against Shoaib Akhtar, Virender Sehwag hitting that epic triple hundred, and right to Virat Kohli, that knock in Melbourne. When you will think of these players at the end of their career, most likely the first game or first moment of their careers that you remember is gonna be an incident from a very famous India versus Pakistan match. It's the game in sport that always transcends sport. It's always a little bit more, no matter what. And it's the game in which, as they say with all epic rivalries, you can throw form out of the window. Anything can happen on any given day. It's always a game that I personally look forward to. I know it's going to be a good game. Um, I hope for both sides' sake that there is a handshake this time and we can kind of get back to the typical fashion of how an India Pakistan game should be played, because I kind of see it more as a game where, how all of us have that one relative or family member who you absolutely love to hate and you never want to lose against. I feel like that's kind of how the India versus Pakistan games always were growing up, and just fantastic, fabulous clash. Always a great game to look forward to.
The next voice note is from Assad Hasnain. Over to you, Assad.
Hello, everybody. Thinking back about golden Pakistan-India memories, I think it starts back from Sharjah when I first started to fall in love with the game. Thinking back to Sharjah Fridays, the lead up into finals, Wasim Akram and Waqar Yunus on our side, Sachin on the opposite side, Mohammad Azharuddin's wrist work, Iftikhar Ahmed on commentary. Just remember the sheer passion that I felt in that era. I think the first heartbreak of my life was actually Bangalore, and I never quite understood what this tension was about. But I remember my father sitting there with a notebook, and he had like 287 runs written on his notebook, and he was crossing out each run as Pakistan scored them. Of course, we ended up losing and facing the biggest heartbreak of our lives, but it was never rancorous. It was not about animosity. It was just a general cricketing rivalry, which I absolutely loved. After that, I remember Sahara Cups, games happening in Canada, and waking up the next morning, watching highlights on PTV. Such wonderful, crazy, tension-filled games with the Salim Maliks, Wasim Akrams, the Sachins, the Saklans, the Saurabh Gangulis of the world. And I just remember it was always, these were just like bilateral series with not a lot of context, but because it was India-Pakistan, it was always it was full of tension and stress. And then the daddy of all games, the Chennai Test match in 1999, what a golden memory. Just the fact that series went ahead, but then the lead up into the series was all about trying to cancel the series, but somehow it went ahead, and everything that happened on the field was a celebration of why cricket is such an amazing sport and why cricket in these two countries can always mend so many fences. Because you think back to that game, and it was an amazing game in terms of the exhibition of skill set with Shahid Afridi, Sachin's unbelievable 100, Wasim Akram on the last day doing amazing things with the ball, Anil Kumble, I think Prasad got a lot of wickets as well. There were some real topsy-turvy moments in that game. It was a complete drama from start to finish, and you could never pick a winner. As soon as you started to get comfortable, something would change in that game. It's easily the best test match that I've ever seen, but the thing that made it even greater was the ending to that game. When the Pakistan team eventually won, they sensed that this was a crowd very different from normal crowds. And they started to take a victory lap, and the entire Chennai stadium got up on their feet and started applauding the Pakistani cricket team. To think this was a reaction from a crowd when 2 weeks before this, a pitch had been dug up in Delhi, if I'm not mistaken. Like, you think the sheer contrast of emotions that ended up in Chennai, and then the voiceover from Harsha Bogle as that victory lap was happening, is just amazing memories. And then you're thinking forward. I think back in 2003 World Cup, at the height of tension between India and Pakistan, Ganguly and Waqar shaking hands. I think they were exchanging some gifts at the start of the game. Then 2004-05, the series happened. India toured Pakistan, and there was this outpouring of love from Pakistan. The crowd chanting Balaji's name, and even though Pakistan lost the series, both the test matches and the one days, it just felt like a festival of cricket. And it almost felt like the whole goal of that series was to make sure that everybody has a good time and that we show the best of our hosting spirit to the Indians. So that's what I remember. That's the India-Pakistan rivalry that I remember. And then suddenly things have started to go south, worse and worse, to an extent that our teams don't even shake each other's hands on the field. But there is an entire history, an entire legacy of Pakistani-Indian friendships. You think back to that series that Pakistan played in India, where we had Shah Rukh Khan hosting an event where he had these players coming on stage and dancing, and like in general, just a very comfortable group of players who all got along with each other. That's the India-Pakistan rivalry that I remember. That even though they fought fiercely on the field, they were the best of friends off the field. And you could feel that love even until recently when Kohli was there. Even when Kohli and Shadab were having memes made of them. That's the India-Pakistan that I remember and treasure. And I really hope we can go back to that.
हाय, मेरा नाम सौरभ है और मैं लगभग मिड 90s से क्रिकेट को फॉलो कर रहा हूँ 7-8 साल की उम्र से। इंडिया पाकिस्तान मैचेस की बात करें या फिर सिर्फ अगर पाकिस्तान टीम की बात करें तो मैं बड़ी ही कच्ची उम्र से उस टीम से बहुत इन्फैचुएटेड था। शायद इसलिए कि वो दिखते हमारे जैसे थे, बोलते हमारे जैसे थे, लेकिन फील्ड पे एक अलग ही अंदाज में उतरते थे। जहाँ एक तरफ हमारी टीम के जो प्लेयर्स थे वो क्लास के अच्छे बच्चों की तरह, होमवर्क टाइम पे करने वालों की तरह, हर चीज़ एक ऑर्डरली फैशन में करने वाले प्लेयर्स जैसे थे। और वहीं पे पाकिस्तान टीम ऐसी थी कि जो सारी प्लेबुक को किनारे रख के अपने ही अंदाज में आती थी खेलने। अनवर आके पहले ही ओवर से स्विंगिंग बॉल को ऑफ साइड की बाहर की स्विंगिंग बॉल को विप करके लेग में मिड विकेट पे स्वॉट करके मार देता था। अफरीदी ऐसा लगता था जैसे आँख पे पट्टी बांध के अंधाधुंध फायरिंग करने आया है, किसको ज़्यादा नुकसान पहुंचाएगा, अपनी टीम को या हमारी टीम को, उसका अंदाज़ा नहीं होता था। एंड देन वंस अगेन कि जैसे इजाज़ अहमद भी अक्रॉस द लाइन मारना है, आगे निकल के मार देना है, तो वो सारी चीज़ें जो हम एक्सपेक्ट नहीं करते थे वो सारी चीज़ें वो करते थे। और इस वजह से एक सेंस ऑफ अट्रैक्टिवनेस था उनकी क्रिकेट में, जो वो आपसे खेल रहे हों या किसी और से भी खेल रहे हों, उनको देखने में मज़ा हमेशा आता था। तो इसीलिए वो टीम काफ़ी करीब थी मेरे दिल के। इस वजह से भी शायद क्योंकि दे वर गोइंग थ्रू देयर बेस्ट पीरियड इन द 90s। तो ऐसे भी वाक़ये होते थे कि जब वो हारा हुआ मैच खींच के निकाल लेते थे, चाहे वो वकार के डेथ बॉलिंग की वजह से या कुछ करके, और ऐसे हमें अपनी टीम में ऐसा कम देखने को मिलता था। तो ये सारी कुछ चीज़ें थी जिसकी वजह से वो टीम बहुत पसंद आती थी। अगर स्पेसिफिक मैचेस की बात करें तो हम हमेशा डेविड वर्सेस गुलायत ही फाइट करते थे, एटलीस्ट उस टाइम पे उनके साथ। तो एक नेचुरल इंक्लिनेशन था इंडियन टीम को सपोर्ट करने का, नॉट जस्ट कि वो हमारी टीम थी बट ऑल्सो कि वीक टीम को जीतते हुए देखने में अच्छा भी लगता है। तो उसमें आई थिंक एक मैच जो है मेरे दिमाग में वो जो ढाका में इंडिपेंडेंस कप का फाइनल हुआ था, उसमें जब 350 के आसपास हमने चेज़ किए थे। कुछ और भी ऐसी चीज़ें थी उस मैच में कि जो देख के काफ़ी मतलब नॉन इंडियन स्टाइल ऑफ प्ले से वो मैं उसे रिलेट करता हूँ कि 1 डाउन पे रॉबिन सिंह को भेज दिया गया। अगले दिन हर जगह उसी डिसीजन की तारीफ़ें हो रही थी कि वाह क्या दिमाग लगाया अजहर ने, फिनिशर को भेज दिया ऊपर जिसने पूरा मैच ही बना के दे दिया, और एंड में ऑफ कोर्स कानितकर का चौका मार के जिताना। तो दैट्स वन मेमोरी दैट्स एच्ड वेरी डीपली इन माय माइंड। सेकंड इज़ आई थिंक वो कुछ जैसे ऐसा होता है कि कुछ फ्लैशेस होते हैं आपके दिमाग में, तो उन्हीं में से एक इमेज है मिसबा का जोगिंदर शर्मा को लैप करना। वो क्या ब्रेन फेड मोमेंट था उसका, और उसने इंडियन पब्लिक में T20 की जो अहमियत है उसको कितना ज़्यादा सराखों पे बिठा दिया, जिसकी वजह से आईपीएल ने जो रिवॉर्ड्स रीप किए, ऐसा नहीं है कि वो हार जाते तो ऐसा नहीं होता, लेकिन हाँ, जो वेलकम मिला उस फॉर्मेट को, उस विक्ट्री के बाद, आई थिंक कि वो काफ़ी ज़्यादा उस मैच का उस इम्पैक्ट था। पाकिस्तान को अब फाइनल में हराते हैं तो जाहिर सी बात है, यू गेट दैट ओपन बस टूर। और फिर इसका उल्टा जो हुआ था वो भी एक काफ़ी मेमोरेबल मोमेंट है, जब 2017 की चैम्पियंस ट्रॉफी फाइनल में पाकिस्तान was the David and we were the Goliath in more than one ways, not just in the strength that we possessed on the field but also our conduct off the field. तो इसलिए वहाँ पे वो मैच बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट इसलिए भी हो जाता है कि उस मैच ने शायद इस राइवलरी में फिर से जान फूंक दी थी, जो कि मंडेन होती चली जा रही थी। मंडेन इसलिए नहीं कि क्वालिटी में बहुत डिफरेंस आ रहा था, बल्कि हम खेल ही नहीं रहे थे। तो जो वो रीसेंसी बायस की वजह से लोगों के दिमाग में उतर जाती है कि एक अच्छी टीम हुआ करती थी, उसकी ये लेगेसी थी, उसको लोग हमेशा उसकी शैडो में देखने लगते हैं। तो इस वजह से वो चैम्पियंस ट्रॉफी का फाइनल बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट था। और वंस अगेन वाचिंग अ डेविड बीट द क्रैप आउट ऑफ गोलायत इज ऑलवेज वेरी हार्टनिंग, यू टेंड टू रिलेट टू दैट विक्ट्री, और वैसा ही उस मैच में भी हुआ। सो दीज वर सम ऑफ द मोमेंट्स विच आर वेरी क्लोज टू माई हार्ट। देर आर मेनी मोर, बट देन अगेन या इट these three come to my mind at the moment.
This is Sami. Um, I grew up in Karachi until I was 10, and then Saudi Arabia until I was 17. And so a lot of my, I guess, early memories of watching cricket were there. And I'm guessing, like most of us, it was my Abu, my father, who, really got me into cricket. I remember being obsessed with cricket as a kid. My brother took me to a live game when I was, I think, 4 years old in Karachi National Stadium, and he told me I was transfixed. I didn't want to talk, I didn't want to do anything. I was just staring at the pitch and just loved it. Um, my earliest memories of watching India-Pakistan games, they're not that many, at least in Pakistan, because I remember the 92 World Cup happened while I was in Pakistan, and that's my first World Cup. The memories are vague. I think a lot of my memories now are of that World Cup are formed by watching Imran's Tigers, the tape over and over and over again. And so I don't have any memories from 92 of watching the India game. And then we moved to Saudi Arabia, and then remember 96 World Cup, and I remember that game very well and just being very disappointed. Nothing really outside of that. But thinking about this question of Indo-Pakistan games and memories as a kid, I remember my father, who was born pre-partition, so he was born in Patna and moved to Pakistan, I think in 51. So he would have been around 10 years old by then. And I think at the time there was, a lot of movement back and forth, so it wasn't as hard as it is now, sadly, to move between Pakistan and India. So, and many of his family are still in India. So I remember growing up as a kid with a sense of rivalry with Indian cricket through my father, through growing up in Pakistan, but never really an animosity. If anything, there was a lot of mutual respect. And my father would had a lot of tape recordings of old games, classic games. There were highlights. They weren't live, obviously, but it would be. I remember Imran Khan's spell in Karachi, I think in 82. It was a magical spell and getting Gavaskar. And for my father, it was always Gavaskar. There was so much mutual respect for him, but also, he would always talk about how annoying it was that Gavaskar's defense was so good. And it was always, you had to get Gavaskar in order to get through India. And, I remember watching the tapes of Imran's spell and breaking through Gavaskar. Uh, and the other one was, I think, 1987, for Pakistani fans, very famous victory of defeating India in the Bangalore test. And then I think it was Ahmed and Iqbal Qasim. And obviously, at the time I was too young to know this, but watching the tapes later, my father would always talk about it. And again, there was never really any animosity. And for a lot of people like my parents, they still had family on the other side of the border. Um, I still have, we have photos. I was going through my parents' photos actually recently, and there's so many beautiful photos of my parents in, I think the 70s, maybe even the 60s, but 70s for sure, traveling around India. My mother's family origin comes from New Delhi. And so traveling around India, and my older siblings, I'm the youngest of five. They all, got to go and see my father's side of the family that remained in Bihar, and then later moved to Delhi, but yeah, that are still in India. But then also just going around, traveling around, and my sister and I, who are the younger two, we never got to go, and we always, felt jealous of their trips and the amazing stories they all had. Um, and so for me, those are the memories that really stick out as a kid. Is nothing to do with animosity or hatred. It was all respect, rivalry for sure. I'm not going to pretend that I always wanted us to beat India. Then I would get really annoyed if we didn't. But there was never any anger or hatred towards any of the players or fans. And then when I moved to Saudi Arabia, the other thing was that in places like Saudi Arabia, the US, etc., you're surrounded by other desis. And in my compound, I would play cricket with Kashmiri from the Indian side, actually, I think connected to um, the Farooq Abdullah family, and then Indian friends, and we would all play cricket together. We were the cricket playing kids in the compounds. So yeah, those are my memories.
Hello, everyone. I'm the person behind the Twitter handle Shubha11. So, my memories of India versus Pakistan actually are pretty painful. All throughout my growing years, when I was mad about cricket, India never really beat Pakistan. And it started with that infamous Australasia Cup final, the Javed Miandad Chetan Sharma final. And it's even more painful because my family, which is a football crazy family, had just bought our color TV in anticipation of the 1986 Mexico World Cup. And this was one of the first live sports events that I was watching on TV at home. And I remember feeling okay through the day because India had played well, batted well, uh, and the match was going in our favor. And then it was only Javed Miandad who stood tall on one side, and then that last ball six. I don't think I really ever, managed to exercise that painful memory in spite of whatever happened after that. And again, in those days, the memories of Sharjah, from random losses to things like Akib Javed's hat trick to with three LBWs, all of which were shady, to India Pakistan Test series, where first four tests were so boring. I remember one of those days, the first day, Pakistan batted the entire day, and at the end of the day, they were at 130 for four. And even now, I kind of doubted that memory, that is it really possible for somebody to bat that slowly? And I went back to that scorecard, and yes, not only were Pakistan 130 for four at the end of day one, they were 379 for seven or something at the end of day two. They'd scored at the rate of about 2 runs per over for 2 days. And then that same series had the last test in Bangalore, which again I remember pretty vividly because it was Gavaskar standing on one side and Tausif and Iqbal just running riot on the other side. So that's how it all began. One of the first pleasant memories was probably the 92 group stage match in the World Cup. Again, Javed Miandad's jumping, Kiran More fighting with him, and then the win. Let's not forget that win was still overshadowed by the fact that Pakistan went on to win the tournament. 96, again, such a brilliant win, followed up immediately by the Eden Garden semi-final loss to Sri Lanka. So it's really that all throughout that period, it was never really that India-Pakistan has pleasant memories for me. And of course, let's not forget that it was easy to hate Pakistan at that time. Not only were they the better team, their swing bowling, their fast bowling was something that really didn't understand, and that made it seem like black magic. and also the stories of Shakur Rana and Mike Gatting kind of made it easy for us to hate them. However, I would say that things started turning nice after the mid 90s. The wins in Toronto, Saurabh Ganguly's, uh, man of the series performances, and by then slowly the international tournament record getting better really helped. If someone had told me when I was a child that there will be a time that India would not only be the better team as compared to Pakistan, but we would also be winning against them regularly in tournaments, I would have pretty much laughed on their face, not believing it at all. But the irony of the situation is that while that's true as of today, I can't even enjoy it. My problems with BCCI and India's bullying attitude towards cricket makes it impossible for me to really love what this team does. It's difficult to separate the two. And therefore, while, as I said, I've lost interest in cricket, it's a matter of just following the results. But beyond that, I really don't think I have sat and watched live matches to enjoy them. And that is something that hurts me, but so be it. While I spoke of the core cricketing memories I have about India and Pakistan, there are two influences that I must talk about which helped me outgrow my views of India versus Pakistan as a purely enmity driven rivalry. The first was my aunt. Now, on the day of her marriage to my uncle, I had gone to her house with the traditional gifts and all of that. And in her room, I remember seeing posters of Imran Khan, Zahir Abbas, Dilip Vengsarkar, and Wasim Akram. And it had shocked me at that point of time that how do you have posters of so many Pakistani cricketers in the house? And I remember asking her about it, and she was like, I love cricket. These are all great cricketers. That was one. The other is a far recent incident. About some time back, my mother in law actually introduced us to this TV channel called Zee Zindagi, which telecast Pakistani dramas. The politics aside, the channel being owned by an BJP MP, which made money by telecasting Pakistani dramas. But again, that channel no longer exists. But the way we got addicted to those serials is something that we still watch now. And more than anything else, those serials tell us that how, in spite of the border, the people, the circumstances, everything, just the milieu, all of it is so similar. And these two really influences really helped me re-examine my own biases and therefore look at this game on a far more larger picture.
Hi guys, Siva here. Big fan of the PCCA podcast. Where do I start? My earliest memory of an India-Pakistan match was the me and Dad match in Australasia Cup final, the one that made him a persona non grata across the country and probably made Chetan Sharma as well. It took him a year and a World Cup hat trick to kind of redeem that. A few months after that, or I don't know, it was probably 5 6 months after that. It was one of the most cherished memories that I have is going to a test match in Che Park, probably the earliest test match that I remember very vividly. All a couple of days that I went was the test match in Jaipur. It was a draw, but I got to see Wasim bowl. I got to see Imran bowl in person, and I think it was probably the first time I was seeing Kapil Dev bowl in person. It was and there was this. I remember a huge partnership that Imran and Wasim had. It was just amazing, and Chika scored a century as well. That was probably my most vivid memories that I have of first time in a ground watching a test match. And then after that, I think we were just it was just all the one days that the two teams used to play in Sharjah, pretty much, and of course interspersed with the World Cup games, which always had some drama or other. 92 with the Nihandad and Kiran Moore, and and the 96 Wakar Jadeja, Sohail and Prasad drama. And I was there in person to witness, two of amazing knocks. The Said Anwar's 194 in the one day final, and and of course Sachin's Greek tragedy at Chepauk in 1999. That series itself was amazing. I mean, each test had something. I mean, you had this, and then you had the Shoaib Akhtar doing a Pat Cummins in Motera to in 20 November 19, 2023 to Eden Gardens with that twin deliveries to Dravid and Sachin. So, and then followed by Kumle's 10 first. So after that, I guess it was all just the ODIs in pretty much till the Mainik Sachin knock in 2003, followed by probably the greatest test series that we played in the 2000s. I mean, of course, we had the England series and the Australia 2003 as well, but the 2006 Pakistan series I may have a slight bias to it because of Raul's pundits of Pakistan as well. But yeah, that series and the series following that in India, probably the last test series that the two teams played. It's a shame considering, how exciting all of that was. And yeah, after that it was the, of course, the Misbah scoop. Distinctly remember where you were, exactly what you did, and then followed that. After that, I think we the number of matches kind of dwindled anyway, and I think we played the semi-final, and I mean that semi-final is kind of special to me because I was in Abu Dhabi, and there was at a client side there was this Pakistani colleague, and he was a huge Sachin fan, and he had invited me home. I watched just the India innings at his place, and it was that was a special occasion as well. Probably the last I probably the last match that I had any emotional investment to India Pakistan matches, and really wanting. Otherwise, I don't remember most of the matches after that. I mean, of course, you remember the Champions Trophy final here, and and the other T20 matches that you played, but you vaguely remember anything after that. Not just because the quality of the matches having kind of gone down a bit, but then also because the narratives around the matches have been anything but savory. So yeah, I'm probably going to watch. It's kind of a sad denouement, but yeah, I'm probably going to watch the last hour of the Sunday game at best because I have something else for tomorrow. Hopefully, it doesn't gain unless it doesn't, get rained out. And hopefully, if the match happens, the players have the decency and good sense to shake hands on the pitch when the game is over. I mean, it's a shame. This is all I've kind of started to expect from out of a game, out of a match that's supposed to be a cricket match that everyone is, we're all supposed to watch it for the sport. Anyway, here we are. Thanks, guys. Enjoy the match. Yeah, so it's sad because, obviously the matches that used to happen have always been intense. They've always been, jingoistic nonsense from both sides, and it's always been the case, right? Given the history and given everything that's happened, so none of that was shocking or none of that was surprising. But what has happened, what used to happen, even in the heights of all those, was, you always had stories like, Ramiz Raja on commentary talking about how Imran Khan would instruct him and Rizwan Zaman, if I remember, to kind of field that silly point and forward shot leg in that Sunil Gavaskar's last Test match at Bangalore, where he scored that. We lost that Test against Pakistan, but there was this minefield of a Bangalore Chinnaswamy wicket, and Imran apparently told Ramiz and Rizwan to just stand and silly point and forward shot like that, with an explicit instruction that, look, you guys are not going to get catches, just watch the master and learn how to play on a minefield wicket on the last day, right? So from there to you had Inzi, Naveed Ul Hassan talking about how Inzi was like, chiding at him for giving a send off to Sachin, and he had to go and apologize to all the stories that the players used to share about, going to each other's, being invited to each other's houses whenever they were touring. So, that is what you would expect from normal human beings. Countries being at war as countries being at war, but you're normal human beings. You're just supposed to. That is the normal. You are supposed to, and you also, as even as recently, Virat and the kind of respect that the Pakistani players, I think he got the players, kind of surrounded him to get advice and all that. It was really nice to see, and given despite everything going around, and which is why whatever has happened is kind of really sad to watch.
Hi, my name's Raghav B. I'm a journalist currently in between jobs, and I started watching cricket around the time I was maybe 6 years old. It was the 2003 Men's Cricket World Cup. I had one of these pocket schedules just detailing the whole tournament, starting off with the South Africa West Indies game. So that's where my journey of being a cricket fan and watching cricket had started. It took a while, I think, for me to actually sit and watch my first India-Pakistan game. I think it would have been a bilateral back then. That part I don't fully remember, but I think it was during that period of 2004, 2005, where it seemed every 6 months or every year there was a big bilateral series, either in India or in Pakistan. Now, it's over 20 years ago, feels like a world away, feels like it wouldn't be allowed these days. But the first, I would say, real, clear memory in a positive way of watching the two teams go at it was also the first time I went to watch a cricket match in person. So this was October 2007, and when Pakistan toured India for a 3-match test series, with the first test being in Delhi at the Ferozshah Kotla. I went with my sister and my dad for, I believe it was day 3 of the proceedings, or day 2. I don't fully remember now, but the days had started with Pakistan cleaning up the Indian tail within the first session, and then trying to bat out the rest of the day. I think my enduring memory of it was at the tail end of the day, with Misbah ul Haq smashing two sixes over long off and long on. His back was facing towards us. We were sitting in the south stand, so he was the shots were going northbound in that big north central stands, the ugly looking airport parking lot one that everyone makes fun of. So that was my first, I would say, real in-person experience of the rivalry, outside of watching random different games on TV. But yeah, that was a good time, I would say, because it being 2007, that first half of the year was when both countries were sort of going through turmoil with the not doing well at the ODI World Cup in the West Indies, but they had just played each other twice at the T20 World Cup in South Africa, and this bilateral series in India came basically a month after that tournament ended. So yeah, it was a good time. It was a fun time, and it's obviously sad that these these bilateral sort of experiences don't really happen anymore. 2012-13 would have been the last time that at least in the men's game that there would have been a chance of that. But from what I remember, those were just white ball games. I remember if there was a game in Delhi, I definitely didn't go. I didn't go. But yeah, to answer your question, my main memory of the rivalry was that 2007 Test match in October. Other than that, I'd give a shout out to the inaugural season of the IPL with the hype that was around the auction and the Pakistani players that were part of it as well. I'm a Delhi fan, obviously, so for us it was Mohammad Asif and Shoaib Malik. So Shoaib Malik wasn't that brilliant for us, but yeah, it was fun, at least for a little while, seeing Asif's express space in the black and red jersey. And yeah, it's sad that doesn't happen anymore either. But yeah, that was fun.
Next up, Prateek Jha.
Hi, I hope I'm not too late. My memory of the India-Pakistan rivalry, my first memory was during the 91 World Cup, which Pakistan won. And I was just trying to understand the game at that time. I was just learning it. And I knew that India is a team which does not always win, and it's a World Cup. But then the Mianda jumping jack happened, which was, I think, the abiding memory. And I was like, what is happening? This seems to be a normal sport. And suddenly, this. So the drama was, outstanding, the outstanding memory of the match than the cricket. But then India won, which was again surprising and which kind of made you think about cricket being a game where India, which was a bad team, won the eventual, defeated the eventual champions. So yeah, that's my memory of the game, and I guess now the drama has really, become bigger than the actual cricket. So I'm not looking forward to the game. Well, I'm looking forward to see what effect this new, culture has made on players and how they handle it. Are they going to get into verbal spats and fight each other on the field? So yeah, I'm looking forward to some contact sports, I guess.
That's 4 in a row. Where is Goose? They're going to bowl next. The prodigal son turned Messiah gets his second 100 in successive.